Hi, this is Deirdre Catlin with Quantum Living Creations, and I just wanted to share some thoughts today about a topic that's come across, either feeds or in conversations the last 3 or 4 days, and it's really neat because as I was sitting here uh, thinking about how to talk about it, all I've just been noticing is that like my heart is racing and Um, yeah, I think because for me, I know my viewpoint might not be a very popular viewpoint, but I hope that it starts to open things up for people. And the subject is kind of, I can't find the specific one that really was the last quote that just made me feel really uncomfortable, but it's the idea that as we grow and open up, that we can't have conversations with people anymore, and um, that now we can no longer talk to these people, but will only tolerate or have those deep conversations over here. And I think for me, what I've recognized is a couple things within those thoughts. One is that there's that segregation or that barrier that we create between ourselves and others. And two, in my own life, I know that that's kind of, although I understand the sentiment of wanting those deep conversations, um, I also know that they all don't look the same. And I'm sure I'll probably come up with them a little later about, those could be 5-minute conversations or those amazing conversations where you lose time and 5 hours have passed. And so, as I was sitting here and trying to figure out how I break down or what I was figuring out is, I wonder if what people are really saying is the deeper part is people want to connect. And the cool thing about life is we have no idea who those people are that we come across. And really, I think what we're asking for is that heartfelt connection of seeing people. And as I break it down for myself, I can look over a period of time and notice that in conversations, I would use something like being a pilot as a shield, as a way of talking about something that was out here. It was completely safe, but this is my identity. And when that went away 5 years ago, it really was, who am I, right? Conversations could have been, I was a pilot, but I really recognized in myself that I was talking about this safe thing, and in new situations or meetings or just going out in the world, this is a really interesting way to distract people to talk about something that I truly love. And I spent a lot of time in my life going in that direction, so I have no regrets. But I recognized that I wasn't bringing my full self to the table. And so I swung the other way and would not talk about being a pilot until I realized about 3 years into it that doing that was just as inauthentic as using it as a defense. And so as I blended the two and kind of figured out to deconstruct how do we talk to people, one of the first things I realized is really being present to people. So many times we're at a drive-through or we're at something and we're thinking ahead or we're thinking behind, and we're not present listening to the conversation. The other part that was a requirement for me was being truthful and really going with what is going on for me either the day or the thing that I found going into conversations, rather than being the person who was waiting for other people to get to know me better, was realizing I can be a leader of a conversation. And in doing so, I had to break down what is authentic with who I am. And I had to kind of understand that um, all all through my years of junior high and high school, the first month of school you get the feedback, and the critique I always got was Deirdre is a wallflower, which for the other months of the year that you never would have had that critique. And so when I peeled that back and I got to talk with other friends about that and they had similar critiques, we realized, the way I enter the room is I just scan and look at the room and figure out what's going on, who are the people, who's interesting. It's just taking in the room. And then once I do that, then I I get really comfortable with who I'm going to go talk to or who comes up to me. And I realize that that's just true to who I am. Really, I think I'm an omnivert, right? Like there are times that I need my silence to rejuvenate, and then there are times when just conversations and the interactions talking about life just really charge me up, and I can go for hours. And so breaking down who I truly am was one of those things that I had to look at on how I want to lead conversations and interactions with people. Just in April, we got to talk about some of these things with some folks, and I got to listen to some amazing women recognizing that, we're all different, and different scenarios came up around this similar subject. And one of the ideas that got me on the be true to yourself is talking to an introvert who's just quiet and shy and going to events, as a spouse, which is not something that I'm used to. I'm usually the one who's getting the attention. So, and so what I realized is have fun. Even though it can be a bit scary going to strangers, what is fun for you in those situations? And start to realize, maybe go back to those, elementary school and kindergarten events and look at how did you interact? How did you make friends? What did you do? And really, as I kind of looked at it, it's not that I pre-plan ahead, but I just looked at 4 different situations of, typical ways that we go out there. And one is just going out with strangers and going to events and meeting them. And really, since I can define any situation for myself, how do I want to act in those situations?